dos, uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You see that black boy over there running scared. His old man in a bottle. He done quit his 9 to 5. He drink full time and now he's living in a bottle. See that black boy over there running scared. His old man got a problem, and it's a bad one. He ain't done pawned off damn near everything. His old woman a wedding ring for bottom. And don't you think it's a crime when time after time after time.
Welcome to The Reality Check with Charles Butler. We are live here at Red State Talk Radio. Welcome to the show. We're going to have Mr. Stephen Hayes on today from Fair Tax. And what you will hear is a real analysis of our tax plan, our tax programs, and how we should address taxes so that they really are fair to the American people. So that's always interesting. It's always fascinating to me, tax law. And Stephen is a tax lawyer. Uh, I'm looking at a situation here and thinking, what? I just heard a clip and I didn't record it or download it. It was on television. And Joe Biden called for the impeachment of President Trump. Here's a man who sat at an event and told the American people that yes, I committed quid pro quo, but it really wasn't quid pro quo. Because I did it. Joe Biden, the vice president, I was implementing President Obama's strategy, and they just happened to give my son a few $1 million, even though he wasn't qualified to get it. So I mean, you can't make these things up, people. I mean, this is the reality that we're dealing with today. It's like, don't believe your lying eyes. No, Joe Biden didn't do anything wrong. Hunter Biden didn't do anything wrong. Hunter Biden is a crackhead, a cokehead, in and out of rehab. So they try to compare him with the Trump kids. I'm going, hey, the Trump kids aren't in and out of drug rehab, not that we know of. They are business people. Hunter Biden was a drug addict. But we're going to switch gears, get back to the tax. Mr. Hayes is with us right now. He's the chairman and president of Fair Tax. You can find them at fairtax.org. Um, he attended. He's a Razorback. So those of you out there, you know what a Razorback is, and he attended the University of San Francisco Law School. I bet that was quite a shock. And he is said this here, a self. Oh, he's a recovering tax attorney. He spent a considerable amount of time and resources investigating alternatives to income tax based on his research, including interviewing tax practitioners, business owners, employees, and economists. He determined that the best solution was to eliminate the income tax and the IRS and replace them with a retail sales tax collected by the states. Sounds like a bad tax. Welcome to the show, Mr. Hayes. How are you, sir? Well, we're glad to have you. It's always a privilege and pleasure. I got to fix something here. Let's see here. Where are we? Something did not click over, so I'm not bringing you through the mixer for some reason, and I'm trying to figure out why. I hate when this happens. But tell us a little bit about fair tax and your proposal to create the fair tax.
what we're talking about is getting rid of the very corrupt, really not functional system of the income payroll tax and throwing it all away, funding the government, including Social Security, with a national retail sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
Not having any tax returns for individuals, not having any deductions from payroll, federal level,
Mm-hmm.
doing everything through a retail sales tax,
Okay.
making the retail sales tax in many respects mirror the impact of the present system. By that I mean making it so that a family of four, first 26 of spending that they do, the 2,600, they would not have to pay any fair tax on it. They would get it to use any way they wanted, and it would be a rebate, which basically is our way of addressing a lot of people's misguided complaints about the sales tax being regressive. I mean, they
Uh-huh.
ignore the fact that the most regressive tax we have is the payroll tax for Social Security, because it doesn't matter how many kids you have, it doesn't matter. The first dollar is taxed at 7.65% if you're an employee and 15.3% if you're on your own. So the fair tax is not. We finish everything so that at the end of the day, you pay your taxes as you make purchases of goods and retail services.
Is that like a VLAD tax, like the VAD tax they have in
It is like a VAT in the sense that it's a sales tax. It is unlike a VAT because a VAT is levied at every step of production. So
Okay.
if you have production going on, and let's say we start with to make a pencil, and we have tree farmer who cuts down the tree. Now
Okay.
he is supposed to pay a tax on the value of the tree when it's been cut down. He goes to the lumber yard and they set it up and they clean it up and they're going to make it so it can be sold to a pencil factory. Well, they have to pay a tax on the value they've added to that piece of wood.
Okay.
And the pencil factory then makes a pencil, they pay tax on what they've added.
Okay.
All of those taxes are paid at each step, whereas ours, and this is really offensive to some tax people because it's so simple, ours is strictly at the retail level.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No tax on business to business unless it's a retail purchase.
Okay.
So it's a very straightforward and simple, and part of the reason why it is so disliked by the swamp and the ruling class is that people like Biden and others don't have the ability to carve out and sell special tax breaks for others.
Okay.
They don't have the ability to hide breaks they give others.
Okay.
Like, the one of the classics, which I think is really kind of interesting, is that the ruling class made a couple of mistakes with Trump's bill. One of them was they somehow allowed him to get a higher standard deduction. And that higher standard of deduction took away the attractiveness of many of the charitable real estate, mortgage, etc. deductions
Mm-hmm.
that the swamp was using effectively to extort money from groups for that special interest. Now they've lost that control over about 90%. So they've lost from 70%. Now we're at 90%, and they clearly are showing that the 90% are subsidizing the benefits for the other 10%.
Okay.
And that's something they didn't want to do. They work only
effectively in the dark. They don't work with lights. In the lights, they scurry like cockroaches. So they made that mistake.
Uh-huh.
They've been so determined to get the president that what they have done is they have almost lost the opportunity to carry through on the tax extenders where members of Congress and the swamp and the ruling class all make a lot of money every year
Mm-hmm.
because these are specialized tax breaks.
Right.
They extend them, and if you don't pay up, Charles, you don't get it extended. And so they've kind of gotten themselves in a bind because they've all been so much after the president that they aren't having the hearings necessary. And there's a very good some of these extenders that are bought and paid for already
Mm-hmm.
by the special interest will not get passed.
Okay.
And of course, that's bad business for the swamp.
Right. And they did not expect this president. They did not expect Donald Trump to be elected president. When Hillary
Oh,
when Hillary Clinton said to Barack Obama, "I'm sorry," it was reported she called and said, "I'm sorry." That was unusual, I think, for a candidate or a person who just lost an election to say. But there's so many components. You have the DOJ investigations. You have the pay to play investigations. There you have the Intel community that is compromised and co-opted. I mean, you're going to tell me that our intelligence community didn't understand that our trade, being China's major trade partner, finance the buildup of their military so that they could become the number one superpower? Are you going to tell me that our intelligence community is that dumb?
of course not.
So you have an intelligence community that's supposed to be protecting the United States, and you had the previous administration saying very candidly, we are here to manage the transition of America to being the number two superpower in the world, and China will be the number one superpower. And we need to accept that, and we need to sit back and just continue to give them our jobs, our technology, while we become a second rate, third rate a nation, and we'll take direction from China. I think, yeah, you look at these tax bills, as you pointed out, it's pay to play, and these people have their special interests. But I noticed that they give our money away like it's candy. 300 million to
Yes,
Honduras, 3 billion to Puerto Rico. Why are we giving Puerto Rico $3 billion? Why are we giving
right.
Israel? Why are we giving Israel $50 billion a year in various aid? Israel is a first class nation with that can support itself. They have a hell of a IT, a computer business industry. They have a hell of a defense industry, military defense industry. They sell planes and all kinds of equipment around the world. Why are we giving them $20 billion? Why can't we repair our bridges? Why can't we educate our kids here in Chicago? There is no reason that an American child should not have access to a quality education. Barack Obama said they all needed access to the internet. Yeah, well, if you don't have a computer, what the hell does that mean?
Yes. well, well, it's it's a very different world when you're an elitist and you have you know life or work for nonprofits all
Hey,
your life
Stephen,
because you've had the ability, and been a professor because you've had the ability to look at things as you think they should be.
Stephen, would you do me a favor?
Which,
Steve, would you
yes,
do me a favor? Would you hang up and call right back in because you got a little
of
lag
course,
going on, I think. And so what I'll do is we'll pull you right back in when you call. Okay.
perfect. I'll
Okay.
call you right back.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, we got a little lag going on his end. I know you guys hear it perfectly, but we can tell here in the studio that it's lagging a little bit. But this is an interesting conversation. This piece is where he's coming back. He's going to talk about. I think is really interesting in that the point that he's making is that the elitists have access to uh, things that they need. It's like the judge yesterday. He asked the parents that spent $150,000 to get their kid in the SC. What makes your children entitled? And the guy should have said, because I paid 150 grand. That's why my children are entitled. Simple answer. Okay, Steven, we're back.
All right, let's hope this works
Oh,
better.
this is
Sound
perfect.
all right?
Yeah, this is good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
you were making the
So,
point that the elitists have access to, computers and access to information. And I was making the point while you were gone that yesterday one of the couples got sentenced to 6 months in jail or something, or a month in jail, because the judge said, "What makes your children so entitled?" And the reply should have been, "I paid $150,000 to USC for my kid to attend."
right, right,
I mean,
right.
this is not rocket science stuff here. You mean my kid is entitled because I had 150 grand to spend on getting him in? Hello.
Right. Yeah.
What kind of question?
Well,
Hey, Stephen, what kind of question is that? I mean, is the answer just obvious? Well, yeah.
I think that it's yes. The answer is obvious, but you get into this way of thinking though, and and scramble in the dirt like the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
So you know you're going to get a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
You know that your health insurance is covered.
Mm-hmm.
You know that you're going to get more vacation days than most anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like Elizabeth Warren and some of the other professors, you know that you're going to get your tenured salary of 200 or 300,000 a year and only really have to teach. You know all these things. You know you're not going to be bothered by the mundane things that bother the rest of us.
Right.
And so, you don't have to really confront it. And it's really easy, I believe, because I don't think all these people are evil. I really don't think so. I think so, a lot of them.
Stephen. Hello. We just dropped him. Hello, Stephen. Hello. Okay. For some reason, we dropped him. Let's call back and see what happens. Bear with us. Here we go. There we go.
Welcome back, host. Have a great
Yeah,
show.
so he'll call back. Hopefully this is better. Yep. Here we go. But yeah, Stephen was making great points here as we were matriculating along, in that these people are comfortable. They know they're going to like Liz Warren make $250,000 a year. Really only work 6-7 months a year. I mean, it's unreal. And then she said, "Well, I found myself. I got fired from my job because I got pregnant." Now she tells a different story. I got fired from my job before I got pregnant. Now she before that she was like, "Well, I didn't know really what I was going to do, yada yada." Yeah, okay. So what is it? I mean, Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, tell the truth, girl. Jesus Christ. Every time you look up, it's something going wrong. I hate that. I hate that. I really do. So, as we move back and forth here, it's always just horrible when this system goes out. I tell you, I hate it when the system goes out. It's just terrible. So we'll try it again, if not today, some other time. Let's see here. Let's see. Hey, let's see. I'm going to wait on Stephen to call back in and see what happens. Cell phone. Let's see. Is best. A lot of people think that it's this analog, but we're all digital here. It's all digital. It's all internet. It's all. And if you don't have a good internet connection, you're in trouble. Kind of like with the taxes, you're in trouble, dude. Hey, but look, it looks like Stephen is not calling back in, so we're gonna segue into Hillary Clinton talking about how how people should just tell the truth. This is Hillary Clinton telling people they need to tell the truth.
I'm a serious person, but I'm also a fun person. But I think I probably came across as too serious. My job, especially as a woman and the first woman to go as far as I did, that I had to help people feel good about a woman in the Oval Office, a woman commander in chief. And so I may have overcorrected a little bit. Many in the Nixon White House and administration concluded was the right thing to do was tell the truth. Tell the truth. And that would be advice that should be given to anybody caught up in this.
Wow. Just tell the truth. Here he is. He's back. Hey, Stephen.
A different phone, a different line. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah. Is this a cell phone? Is this a cell phone?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. So we tend to do better with cell phones than analog.
All right.
Yeah, things have changed. I remember when it used to be use a landline, you would get better reception. No, now it's analog. Digital. Everything is digital.
That's exactly what I'm used to being told. So
okay.
Anyway, I don't know how much of my thing you heard, but I thought that was it's an interesting take, because when I hear these professor types and bureaucrats talk about things, I just think about the fact that these are the same people that I met when I would go up to, take my daughter to soccer practice and things like that. And a lot of them were really decent people. They just have a different prism they're looking through than you and I, or than most of us.
That's true. But that prism is dangerous. That prism is, and this is the difference between their prism and how we look at things. They get angry and they get vicious and they get vile when you don't believe what they believe. And I guess that's why I've never really acquiesced much to Democrats or liberals. And, they don't really like me too much because I'm truthful. I don't try to. Last night, just an example. Stephen. Last night I ran into a young lady at my club. She's new, hadn't seen her before, so I went over and introduced myself. We were talking, and she's in the military, and I'm a former naval officer, and we got to talking, and I said, well, the military is different today, and I said, these young men and women are asked to be policemen instead of warriors, and the military is not designed to police; it's designed to be a warring organization. And somehow we got on the issue of women in combat. I said that when I see women in NFL and NBA, I will probably say, yeah, you guys are ready to come in combat. But until then, you destroy unit cohesion. Your units with women in them are very ineffective and inefficient. I said, this is not about, and I said, when you look at policing, what the average or above average police officer is not going to deal with a man. She has to shoot a man to get him to obey her command. She is not going to engage a man with a baton or a billy club and subdue him. She has got to pull out a gun and shoot the guy. And
it makes sense.
And so
it makes total sense.
So she said to me, well, you don't believe in inclusion. I said, no, I believe in people being qualified to do a job. And that's a job that women can't do to the level that men can. And I said, all this stuff you hear about women warriors, I said, a lot of it's urban legend. I said, I don't believe that Joan of Arc, was sitting there battling with these barbarians who were just had this brute strength. You're talking about, this wasn't technology. This is sword against sword, So anyway,
right.
Anyway, you hear these things, and so, but this is interesting. It's interesting because I was challenged last week by a young woman, same club, my private club, challenged by a young woman to play squash, and she said to me she was going to whip my butt, and I said, this is not going to be Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. I said Bobby Riggs actually threw the match to Billie Jean King, while the month before he beat the number one woman player in the world, Margaret Courts. He beat her like a drum, while he lost to Billie Jean King, who was number 2 or 3, because he had a debt in Las Vegas. And she said, "Well, I've heard those rumors." I said, "Rumors? We're talking fact here." Margaret Court used to beat Billie Jean King like until she retired. I said, so Bobby Riggs totally trashed her. So, and he was almost 40 years her senior. So I said, that's the way that I'm going to beat you. That's what I told her. I said, that's the way that I'm going to beat you. She's a young woman and I'm about 40 years her age. Right. But I tell you this, Stephen, when I play women, I send a message. You know, we can either play a social game or I can play them like I play the guys, which is a totally different level of competition, a totally different level and speed in the game. Totally. You know, and we so anyways, getting away from the tax issue, but the point is people try to have things the way that they want them, and they don't want to stick to the facts. They don't want to hunker down and do the homework. They don't want to accept the reality. Like I read your tax proposal. I read your latest news letter from the chairman, and it just makes so much sense.
Yes.
How come Washington can't implement this? Because, like you said, it's special interest. How do they get paid? They can't figure out how to monetize it.
That's right. That's right. If we, Charles, if you and I could come up with a way for them to be able to steal as much as they're stealing today, and I say it exactly like I mean it, because so many of these things have absolutely no benefit except to the people who are getting the tax benefit and except to the lobbyists and people who are getting paid. But if they could come up with a way to do that with a fair tax, I think they would do it in a minute, because it would give them a lot more money in DC to use, because it will raise a lot more money. It'll make a lot more people employable here in the US at good wages, because just like Apple people are making fun of Trump's China thing. What is Apple doing? They are announcing they're going to start assembling different parts of their empire in the U.S. And so, it's like if we put in the fair tax, we would have similar things happening, not because of tariff wars and trade wars, but because we were playing using the same rules as someone else. If you were going to play your squash game and you were going to play with a blindfold on, obviously you would be much less effective against, I don't care who it's against.
Right.
However, if you took that blindfold off, you're going to be as good as you are. And that's what we've been doing for so long, is we've been playing in a global economy with a blindfold, because we let these people fleece us by allowing them to have a tax system that rewards imports and punishes our exports.
One thing that kind of is on the table, and I don't know if you're following it, but I kind of picked it up this morning about 4:00, and that is the NBA is fighting China back. They're like, okay, cancel our games.
Yes.
You renewed for 1.3.
I saw that.
Yeah, you renewed to carry us for $1.3 billion, and we're not giving that back, by the way. But you're not going to censor what we do and what we say. At the end of the day, right. This reminds me of, I don't know how old you are, Stephen, but this reminds me of when Jimmy. Go ahead.
I'm older than most people, so go ahead.
So I remember when Jimmy
I'm
Carter,
72, Charles.
Okay, I'm 67, so we're around the same age. But I remember very distinctly when Jimmy Carter came in and his Christian, noble, soft approach to geopolitics and to urban policies totally decimated this country. He made us weak, just like Barack Obama. The only difference is we only had 4 years of Jimmy Carter to turn around. We had 8 years of Barack Obama to turn around. And I mean, it was 8 horrible years that saw blacks lose dramatically in every matrix that you could measure. Blacks suffered under, and Hispanics and whites, but blacks suffered the most. And this is a guy who talked about hope and change, and he said, well, a floating, what did he say? A rising tide floats all boats. Well, the tide never rose, Barack. The tide never came in, Stephen. It kept flowing. It kept flowing out to China.
But that was part of his plan. I really believe that he came from a background, and D'Souza's film I thought was very interesting because, he's sort of channeling his father, who believes that we should atone for all of the sins that we've created, not only that we've created, but that all of the previous colonial powers have created.
Well, see, that's the problem.
And bringing us down makes it work for him.
See, this is the issue. This is the issue today. Barack Obama's father was a British subject. When he came to America, Kenya was still a British colony. Barack's daddy grew up as a British subject. His grandfather, Barack's father's father, was punished by the Brits. I think he died in captivity with the Brits. But Barack's father was a neo-socialist, a very outspoken neo-socialist, as were a lot of African nations at that time. They thought that this thing called neo-socialism, which is what Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are preaching, all they're preaching is neo-socialism from Africa in the 70s. They're bringing it to the table today. But remember, that is the environment they grew up in. They grew up in that counterculture of the late 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Same culture you and I grew up in. Socialism. We were talking socialism here, and Mao and Fidel and Che, and I'm going, okay, I give Fidel credit for one thing, and that is he helped free Mandela from prison. I give Fidel that credit. But in terms of his country, he totally ran a dictatorship. And while he did good things in Cuba, in terms of medicine, the guy, he still had political prisoners,
Yes, and he still tortured them.
Well, what good is holding? It's kind of like the guy who paid the money to go to SC. What good is having political prisoners if you can't touch them up a little bit?
Yes,
but look, Stephen,
they never got written up.
No, of course not. These people were held out as heroes, and I don't understand how anyone can hold Mao Zedong as a hero, a man who killed millions. I think he killed more people than Joseph Stalin. And that's saying quite a bit.
That is a lot. Yes.
But hey, Stephen, help us to wrap this up and understand what we need to talk to say to our congressmen and women and our senators.
Well, I think what we need to do is just, if you get the opportunity, ask them, how come we don't go to a tax system that is simpler, that protects U.S. products in trade, and that is obvious to all, that is not going to be evaded like the present one, which is going to be probably $9 trillion between now and the next end of the decade. Why don't we do a system that economically will give us more growth and give us more freedom, and not keep this failing, corrupt system of the income tax? Why don't we do a system that's going to guarantee the solvency of Social Security, because it's going to come from everybody paying into it, as opposed to trying to say it's coming from the fewer and fewer workers per retired person. Charles, people like of my age and your age who are eligible for Social Security, there are fewer and fewer people who are pulling the wagon that we're in, using Phil Graham's statement. With the fair tax, the whole country, plus all of the immigrants, plus all of the illegal dealers, plus all the visitors, contribute to our economy, contribute to our budget, and contribute to make Social Security solvent. That doesn't happen under the present system.
It doesn't.
So that's what we need to do. We need to go to fairtax.org. If you like what you see and what you've heard, join up with us. We're an all volunteer group. Nobody gets paid. But what we want to do is push this forward and ask them the question that they find very difficult to answer, and that is, why not go to a sane tax system?
That's true. That's true. Why not? It's there.
It's a radical idea. It's very radical. Giving people control of their own money, that's radical now to these people. But that's what we're talking about. Putting the control back in your and my hands and out of the hands of the bureaucrats. And to them, that's so radical to them. And again, it's because of the prism they look through. But the prism doesn't make them right.
It doesn't.
It just maybe explains why they can't see it.
Yeah, and I thought that George Bush would come in and do a slightly different job, but he got hung up with the war in Iraq and Iran and ran the budget up and the deficit up.
Yes.
And he created several. What we don't realize, he created several new government agencies. What was DHS? He spun off DHS,
yes.
and I can't remember the other one right now, but that was a big one. I mean, DHS employs 700,000 people or something. Some humongous amount of people.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was wonderful talking with you, Stephen. Sorry we had those technical difficulties, but we straightened it out.
We straightened it out, and it's always great talking to you. And I hope to get into Chicago sometime. And I don't think I could take you in a game of squash, but I'd love to sit down and talk to you.
Well, we could play squash, and then we do the executive workout.
You would play like, you treat me like the ladies. I got it.
Hey man, I have to beat you like a drum, baby. So we but after we go in the steam room, hot tub, cold tub,
Yep.
then we go down and have a steak or something.
That would be a wonderful thing to do.
All right.
I look forward to it.
I do too. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks very much, Charles, for having me on.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right. Take care now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye. Mr. Stephen Hayes, y'all, from fairtax.org, fairtax.org. So, think about that. Go out and read some of the writing, some of the proposals they have. I think you'll enjoy them. Right now we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton and her thoughts on telling the truth.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for My Pillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. My Pillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable My Pillow is with its patented interlocking fill. My Pillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. My Pillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. My Pillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. My Pillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code Red State. That's 1-800-961-9194. Promo code Red State. Put sleepless nights behind you with My Pillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Kim Moline, co-owner of the Wingstop restaurants in Lansing and South Holland.
Hey, Tom, I've got to be honest. Although I was unhappy with our old payroll company, I was pretty apprehensive about transitioning into a new one. When it comes to payroll, delays and lost data are really unacceptable. But I'm happy to say your staff really made it easy for us, and the transition couldn't have been smoother. And now, as we consider taking advantage of some of the other services you offer, well, let's just say that next time we won't be so chicken.
Thanks, Kim. Just call me at 630-242-1507. That's 630-242-1507. Or check us out at the web at precisionpayroll.com. That's
Okay, we're back, and we're gonna talk a little bit about Hillary Clinton, talking about telling the truth and how people during Watergate just told the truth. And we talked about that the other day, and I talked about how John Dean just lied. He was the prosecutor's snitch, and he got a deal cut for that. They cut time off of uh, his sentence. So let's hear Hillary talk about why we just need to tell the truth.
I'm a serious person, but I'm also a fun person. But I think I probably came across as too serious. My job, especially as a woman, and the first woman to go as far as I did, that I had to help people feel good about a woman in the Oval Office, a woman commander in chief. And so I may have overcorrected a little bit. Many in the Nixon White House and administration concluded was the right thing to do was tell the truth. Tell the truth. And that would be advice that should be given to anybody caught up in this.
Wow. Tell that you caught up in this. Talking about the Donald Trump impeachment inquiry. What a joke. Nancy Pelosi won't bring it to the floor for a vote. Why is that? Because she knows if those Democrats from Donald Trump districts, the districts that Donald Trump took, they won't be there again, she will lose the speakership. And I don't think she really wants to go back to being in the minority role. Oh, man, that's too funny. It's too funny, but it's true. It's true. She's very clear. She's still making apologies for not winning the election. It's everybody's fault, but except for the fact that she's a crook and that people don't like her. Hillary, we don't like you, baby. So what does Hillary say? Let's double down on this. She says Trump is an illegitimate president. She should be president. Well, she didn't say that. I'm playing an Adam Schiff right now, but this is what she said. Her own words.
In the 2016 election, Trump basically said, Russia, if you're listening, you will be richly rewarded if you can find Hillary Clinton's emails. And of course, we know the Russians hacked the DNC, hacked my campaign, etc. Trump knows he's an illegitimate president who got illegitimate foreign help.
Wow. Trump knows he's the president, baby. His moniker says, the president of the United States of America. How can that be illegitimate? Trump signs bills. So you're going to say that every bill that this president has signed is an illegitimate bill that was passed by the House and the Senate? That's what you're trying to tell us, that he's illegitimate, that that the people electing him doesn't count? Boy. But the American people, they're a different breed. Hey, folks, you can call us. The lines are open. 215-867-2855. That's 215 Top Talk for those of you who'd rather dial it that way. Now, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at Hillary calling Donald Trump illegitimate and just tell the truth. This is a woman who wouldn't know truth if truth hit her right in the face. Wow. I would talk about Russ Vaught over at the Office of Management Budget, OMB. He did a great job today talking about how when they came in, the debt was, I think, 19 trillion. Now it's 23. But, when it was under Obama, I think Barack came in, it was 9, 10. And when he left, it was 16%, almost $17 trillion. Yep, true story. So under Donald Trump so far, the deficit's grown about 5 trillion over 3 years. Not bad, but not good. And if Congress would go ahead and pass some of these laws, the economy's good. The economy's good. Why? Because these agencies didn't wait on Congress, and just started throwing equipment out. Boom. Throwing equipment out the door. So I'm just sitting here for a sec because there's something I want to play you. I just can't see it. Oh, I know what it is. The mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Bless his heart. Barack Obama, I think he resettled something like 8 million Somalis. And he put 12,000 of them right there in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota. And they have these enclaves that look just like Somalia. They brought a piece of home with them. Now, let me tell you something about Somalia. It's way, 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 way down there on the human quality chart. Just look it up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. It's way down there. Talking about people with dirt floors in their huts, et cetera, et cetera. They hop on a plane and come here, and we take them right in. And they started acting like Black Americans until they want to be perceived better than us. They go, well, I'm not a Black American. I'm a Somali American. Okay, so you're saying you're not one of our countrymen. I get it. I love it. I always have some comeback for something, right? So I'm gonna listen to Russ, and, talk about where he and the Trump administration are on this. Listen.
Sure. We're facing a $22 trillion national debt, trillion-dollar deficits as far as the eye can see. This president has put forward record spending reductions as an administration to be able to get our fiscal house in order. And if you take the national debt and you break it up per man, woman, and child, you're looking at a debt of about $65,000 per individual. How is that fair for those individuals to have to absorb that at some point in the future? We don't think that is a way to budget from the standpoint of giving them more freedom and opportunity to live their life without having to work more and more on behalf of the government.
So as you mentioned, the debt, the U.S. national debt accumulated under this president starts at 19.95 trillion when he goes into office.
Whoops, 1995. Okay, got it. I messed up. But that's a lot of money, man. It's still only 21, 22 trillion right now. So it didn't increase that much under President Trump. And it could have. His budgets are good budgets. They're solid budgets. And they're getting smaller. He's trying to make them smaller so they'll come down. But nobody's talking about that. They want to focus on, excuse me, Russian collusion. They want to focus on Robert Mueller's report, the smoking gun, which wasn't the smoking gun. Now what do we do? They haven't told us. Because they had the smoking gun. Adam Schiff says, I have incontrovertible truth that President Trump colluded with the Russians. Well, guess what? Is it the truth you have, the truth you got from those two guys that duped you? The two guys that called in and said they had dirt on President Trump being in a hotel in Moscow. Not. But see, that's what happens when you are a business person. You get out and travel, do what you need to do what you want to do. Donald Trump had his own 757. He didn't need the countries. He had his own 757 flying around the world. Man, that's rich. That's really rich. Just think you flying your own 757, not 37, 757 around the world, doing what you need to do when you need to do it. I love it. That's self-actualization there. Presidency was, for me and him, a step down. Really. So, no, I'm not going to do that story. It's a story with a guy named Jacob Frey. He's testifying for Trump, and I'm just not going to do that particular story today. It's one that we'll get around to, I guess, tomorrow or Next day, it's not one we need to do today. Hillary said, just tell the truth. Hillary wouldn't know the truth if it hit her in the face like a wet fish. I tell you. Oh boy, it's just something that we get used to. I was going to talk just a little bit about an article that was in the Wall Street Journal, and it's talking about U.S. blacklist Chinese firms citing repression of Muslims. So we're fighting back. We're not, or the government's fighting back. They're not accepting visas from Chinese firms that have turned people over to the Chinese military, Chinese intelligence for torture and capture. And oh, by the way, they weren't cooperating with the Chinese. Several of these people happen to be American, by the way. So some of the companies that we blacklisted are high tech companies, and these companies are ready. They're ready to get back in the fold, but the U.S. Department of Commerce has said, you have to change your ways. You're turning over information to the Chinese Secret Service, or well, that's better yet, it's like the what do you call it? The FBI. Their internal people doing internal things, but there's a lot of tension growing, and America and China are heading right headlong over free Korea. I mean, not Korea, but free Hong Kong. I don't know why the British gave Hong Kong back to the Chinese anyway. It was horrible. And people kept saying, Charles, you got to get back to Hong Kong before it changes hands. And, I was like, hey, man. And it was cheap to go to Hong Kong in those days. It was like $300-$400 round trip. You get to Hong Kong and you could stay for a week in a hotel for $250. And I'm talking about a Ritz or Hilton. It was great. But again, China put out its big foot and said, stop, I will step on you. And we raised that, we were like a little scorpion, raised that tail and said, hey, go ahead, buddy. Just step on me as hard as you can. You'll be stepping on my stinger, and that will mean death to you too. Oops, death to you too. TOO, not TWO. You can't make this stuff up. So we hope the NBA gets back on track, and the NBA is not worried about it. They say if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. And hey, we're going to do what we're going to do because we believe in free speech. I love it. Hey, folks, have a great one. Be back tomorrow. Same place, same time.